Did you stab any of the other victims?
No, I did not.
How about Frykowski?
No.
Did you do anything to Frykowski?
No, I did not.
Did you assist in tying him up, or?
No, I did not.
Okay. How about Tate?
No, I did not.
Did you contact Tate?
No, I did not.
We may come back to this area. One of the other commissioners might have some questions about the life crimes. Right now I'm going to go into the other factors, social factors, and...
The parole board then turned their attention to Krenwinkel's background. They wanted to know whether she had a criminal record before the killings, and to ask her about her history of drug use. First, they reviewed her family background.
No, that's fine.
You were born in Los Angeles,
Yes.
right? And your parents separated when you were about 14 or 15. And your sister, you had one sister named Charlene Mann, who was older than you, and ultimately she became addicted to drugs, and she died when she was about 29 years old. Is that correct?
Yes.
You lived primarily with your mother?
Yes.
Okay. And you did graduate from high school?
Yes, I
From
did.
University High?
Yes.
Okay. And then, in general, you were on the road after a period of time, and ultimately you held several different jobs, and at some point in time you quit the jobs and you ended up joining up with the Manson family. And I know that's kind of a synopsis of your life prior to your incarceration, but and the other commissioners may want to ask some questions about that later on. In terms of your prior record, I know that you were arrested for possession of dangerous drugs in Ukiah. That was dismissed.
Yes, it was.
Did you know that you started taking drugs when you were about 14 or 15? I assume those were prescription drugs at that time due to your having been overweight. The doctor prescribed some Benzedrine.
Yes, that's right.
And ultimately, you started using illegal drugs.
Yes.
And you used marijuana, reds, whites, acid,
Alcohol.
and other marijuana derivatives, peyote and things like that. There was some indication that as a result of having used the LSD that you had taken, quote, quite a few trips.
Approximately 250 to 500, probably.
Okay. You came to CIW in April of 1971, and you've remained in this institution since then. Your classification is 0, and you've never had any disciplinary crimes. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But that's pretty remarkable that you haven't had any disciplinary. That's unusual.
During her time in prison, Patricia Krenwinkel has been involved in a number of the voluntary programs at Frontera. The inmates run their own firefighting unit at the prison, and the board asked her about her work on physical training for the members of that unit.
I notice your work now. You're a trainer,
Yes.
and you received exceptional work reports. What type of training are you doing?
I'm a physical fitness trainer for the women who are trained here to go to fire camp. We have 3 fire camps that are, 2 of them are located in San Diego, 1 in Malibu. These women have to meet the fire requirement physical fitness tests in order to be able to go out and live at these camps and fight the fires as we just had, all those massive fires. All our gals are out there doing that. And so it's a good job. We have to teach them teamwork, because we work as a team, myself and the other trainers. The focus is teamwork and physical fitness, and because it's one of the few programs here that, of course, requires not only physical fitness, but you need to be able to work and get along well together, and you need to have a really good philosophy about the people you're working with, because your life relies on those other people in a fire situation.
You've been involved in the walkathons for child abuse
Yes.
prevention, and you have been active in the READ program, which is a
Right.
tutoring program.
Yes.
Is that in the evenings?
Yes, it is. It's
And is that a little
program.
different than the Yes I Can program?
Oh, Yes I Can is, that's a program that you help tutor people to get their GED. READ helps people to learn how to read. Most of the skills are back from about 5th grade.
Okay, so
most of our readers are
they're
about
not
5th grade education.
I see. So they're not even close to getting their GED.
No,
They need
we're
your
just,
tutoring.
right, we're just trying to develop word skills
Okay.
and reading skills on a very basic level.
And have you personally gotten a lot out of doing that?
Oh, I've loved doing that.
Think of the impact that she must have on some of these young people, where she can, talk about what happened to her as a young person, as becoming so extremely involved in drugs, and where all of this led to. And look at her sitting in this prison setting and, being able to communicate with these young people on a one-on-one basis. So she's doing that too, and I think I think it's great. I mean, it's giving something back.
Every time she volunteers, she gets a chrono written up and put in her file, which can be used to her benefit when she has a parole hearing. So it's not like she's doing this all for free just out of the goodness of her heart. She's no dummy. I mean, she's doing this because she's getting brownie points.
I do it for myself because it feels so good to be able to try to give something back to the community and to the people at large, because I feel like it's necessary for me to feel like that I'm able to do something, that my life, I have to give it some kind of purpose.
Next, the parole board had to decide whether Patricia Krenwinkel still posed any risk to society. To do that, they turned to her most recent psychiatric evaluations.
The major progress is in your ability to gain insight into yourself and in being affirmative and aware of yourself. You have learned to communicate this new understanding and present yourself in a positive, clear manner, even when you have to talk about the worst aspects of yourself, such as your involvement in the crime. From this new understanding, your expressed remorse and compassion becomes believable. There was no sign of mental disorder presented in the interview, even when you have to talk about the worst aspects of yourself, such as your involvement in the crime. And under the general conclusions, they say that there's no significant relationship between the crime and the present diagnosis. During observation in the institution, especially during the last 3 years, you have significantly improved and are still improving. And under parole release, it says violence potential outside a controlled setting at the time of your crime is considered to have been extreme due to your total dependency and drug addiction. At present, your violence potential is estimated to be well below average. He goes on to say that you are a violent criminal only by history, and you do not pose a threat at the present level of functioning in this setting, and it is predicted that you would not present a threat in the uncontrolled setting if released into the community at this time.